Idaho. Thank you for whoever pressed that because I never remember. We will be recording all of our webinars. This is part of the Idaho STEM Ecosystem webinar series, and we're really excited for today's speakers. We will be having these webinars monthly moving forward. So if there are any topics you'd like to see covered, or if you would like to volunteer to run one of these webinars, please let us know. We will be arranging them for the upcoming months. Our next one will be February 25th, and we will be basically showcasing items in our iSTEM lending library, so you all can get a sense of what's in our lending libraries and get us all excited about our iSTEM professional development training that will be happening this June. So stay tuned for more details on that one. And without further ado, I will introduce Crispin Gravatt from the STEM Action Center team, who is our research analyst, and he will be moderating today's panel. So thank you all for joining.
Awesome. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining. Today's conversation is going to be a case study about some of the STEM initiatives that we're seeing on the Shoshone-Bannock Reservation. And we have two incredibly talented guests for you today. Up first is Sunshine Shepard, the K-12 STEM education coordinator at Idaho National Laboratory. Sunshine is a member of the Shoshone tribe. She is a mother of three beautiful children, Troy, Storm, and Mila. She has a passion for STEM and education, especially bringing much needed resources and programming to tribal communities, as well as underrepresented populations. When she isn't working, she loves to hike, spend time with her kids, and read. Hello, Sunshine. We also have joining us today Jessica James, who is the education manager for the Shoshone-Bannock tribes. Miss Jessica James is the Shoshone-Bannock tribes education program manager and an enrolled member of the Shoshone-Bannock tribes of Fort Hall, Idaho. She is also affiliated with the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe and Washoe tribe. Ms. James is a graduate of Shoshone-Bannock Junior Senior High School and obtained an Associate of Arts degree in Liberal Arts in 2003 and a Bachelor of Arts degree in 2004 in American Indian Studies from Haskell Indian Nations University in Lawrence, Kansas. She also obtained a master's degree in Indigenous Nations Studies with an emphasis in cultural preservation management and Indigenous Museum Studies from the University of Kansas. Currently, she is a graduate student at Creighton University, working on a doctorate of education in interdisciplinary leadership. Hello, Jessica. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi. Thank you for allowing us to be here and presenting today.
Yes, we are very excited to learn a little bit more from you about the STEM initiatives that are happening in your community. So with that, I will start this presentation here if everybody can see the slides. Awesome. And I will turn it over to Sunshine and Jessica. Let's kick off.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. As you had a wonderful introduction. Thank you, Crispin, for introducing both Sunshine and I. We've been working together these past couple of years on various different STEM initiatives here on the reservation. This is a picture of our after-school program receiving some STEM education with, I believe, partnership with the University of Idaho on this one. Next. So our reservation land base is 544,000 acres with 110 acres dedicated to farming. And the Shoshone-Bannock tribes encompass land within 4 different counties, 5 different school districts, and multiple school sites. There are 6,014 tribal members as of December 8, 2018. There's more now. And we have about 1,900 of these people who are under the age of 20. About 32%. There are approximately 1,700 Native American students within the 50-mile radius of the reservation, kindergarten through 12th grade. And there are 5 different community districts that we have throughout our reservation. And there's a lodge in each of the districts that people gather and get information and do events in the different communities. Next. Sunshine, you want to take this up?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about what is our reasoning behind investing more into STEM on our reservation. And here's just a few bullet points. I'm sure there's a ton that we've had in conversations with many of you. Also, nice to be here. Thanks, Kristen, for introducing us. And I'm just really excited to have this conversation and hear what questions and ideas that you guys have. So one of the big reasons that we have decided to invest in STEM on our reservation with our community and our students, kindergarten, before kindergarten, pre-kindergarten through college graduates, is there was a large number of dropout rates at the tribal high school. Many of the students are leaving to college and then returning back home within the year. And a lot of times that happens because students aren't used to being away on their own, but also just a different learning style. We've seen that a lot of our students are more hands-on, and you can tell when the students are involved in STEM initiatives that they are more successful and they're more confident in their learning. So we decided, you know, the things that we're doing traditionally, there may need to be a change. And that's kind of meshing my bullet points together. But a lot of our students that are coming into our schools or even leaving just have a different learning style. And a lot of times they leave and go to college and those styles of learning aren't found. And so we're trying to work with the students to have their own sense of learning and their own self-motivation to know how to do these things or seek out the resources and help that they need. And that starts with incorporating STEM in our schools. We have a lot of high poverty rates and low employability, so lack of training, lack of students continuing going on to college and graduating, going on to get careers, or a lot of times they move off the reservation. So we're trying to keep people on the reservation. My bullet points here, pretty much the same. Hands-on learning, they thrive and they're actively involved in their learning process. And STEM, it really supports this sort of learning style. And so that's why we've seen success with our students. And I'm sure it's the same with many students that are not on the reservation or in our communities, but that's just kind of what we've seen. It's really nice because we want to get students back to our high school. We have many who have left off the reservation or gone to different schools. And so we're hoping that having STEM on our campuses within the tribal community, we can get students to leave the schools in town and surrounding town, then come back to the reservation. And that helps with numbers. It also helps with students to getting trained more one-on-one because we are a smaller school, and then having other doors and opportunities open for these students to go on even in their high school career and their college career. The hope is that Shoshone School will not only offer training and STEM classes and the STEM kind of thinking already on campus, but also to kind of put that out into the community so that people know that Shoshone School is not only a place of learning for high school students, but it's also sort of a community resource hub. We're hoping to bring in food pantries, STEM nights, any sort of community forums, things like that on campus, so that there's somewhere that people can go and feel like they're a part of something. We do hope to expand and take the STEM out to the different districts. Like Jessica had said, there are 5 districts, and we have kind of done that, and you'll hear a little bit more of it later. A lot of times taking the STEM to the people on the reservation because they're so widespread, or because of a lack of transportation, or whatever it may be, there's a lot more success when we're able to take the STEM out. And again, coming in the future slides, we'll talk about the Think, Make, Create lab and how we're able to take that out to the different districts and hold STEM nights. And so we're able to get more people involved that wouldn't really come into Fort Hall, but would be closer out into their district. And then also just breaking down generational norms. So a lot of times in our community, it seems that there aren't many people who expect our students to go out and become engineers or work at the lab. And so we're kind of just trying to change that, where no matter where the student comes from, what family they're from, what they've been through, they all can become something successful, and they will. And so we expect them to do that and being able to change our aspect and our learning into more of a STEM space, and being able to teach these STEM skills is, I think, going to put that accountability on the students where they're involved in their learning and they know that we expect them to go out and do great things. And to do that, we're going to be here to support them. So that's kind of just the new investment that we have in STEM. And just really, it's just time for a change. And so far we've seen that successful. And so why not continue?
Awesome. I think this is some really great context for your STEM push, just understanding sort of the lay of the land, both in the actual physical land, the space that you have and the students that you reach, and also some of the trends that you're seeing with the student populations moving off the reservation to schools in the surrounding area. And I'm wondering if some of that push comes from schools in the surrounding area investing in STEM, which maybe drove some of this. And let me know if I'm getting ahead of your presentation too.
Yeah, no, and I think it all weaves together. And I see a question in the chat from Sonia. What would you say are the 3 top reasons students drop out of traditional institutions? And from what I've seen being in a traditional institution is a lot of times the students, first of all, don't see themselves in any of their classes as professors. They don't see themselves in those positions. So they don't really feel like they're welcome or that they're able to speak out on their own traditions and their cultures in the ways that they believe because it's so different. So I guess just feeling kind of like an outsider being in the institution is one of the big barriers. And then also we have things that, again, we'll talk about later in the presentation, barriers such as transportation, technology, Wi-Fi, things like that. We don't have really good signal out on the reservation. So especially when COVID hit, it was really hard for students to stay online because they didn't have hotspots, but also when they did get those resources, they don't have signal in the areas that they're living because they're so remote. So those are a couple of the barriers that I see. Even just, I mean, that goes all across the board. So yeah, I guess we can continue on to the next slide. Oh,
I just wanted to talk about the picture. As somebody asked about the picture, what's going on. So this is during our summer youth employment activities and collaborations that we had with Idaho State University. And this is the ropes course team building activity. So we're talking about challenges and barriers. You know, they had to climb up that and swing down, and I don't know, they're participating in all that. So I just thought that would be a suitable picture for this slide.
That was perfect.
Yeah, great metaphor.
So in talking about some of our key STEM initiatives, in 2020, we started to redo and revise our strategic plan for education. So we included this vision statement that the tribal education program will utilize family, school, community involvement to create lifelong learning, utilizing education within the homes, STEAM, and traditional cultures. And we did this by developing a goal number 1 to integrate traditional cultures in a contemporary world, and also develop that curriculum that incorporates STEAM. And we wanted to also improve information literacy through cultural applications of math, reading, and STEAM. We wanted to include the arts when we talk about STEM. So that's why you may see STEAM and STEM integrated within this presentation throughout this time. But this is a picture of our classroom training students learning about our cultural languages. So this is the Shoshone language that is being taught, and you know, we want to incorporate that within our learning. So that's what we're doing. Next. Some of the accomplishments of 2020, 2021, we had a really great successful partnership with the American Indian Services Program in helping them with recruitment and shared office space and supplies. You know, we really tried to work with that nonprofit organization in the summer times for our Native students in our area. And I believe they have office space also at Idaho State University too. But you know, we had a great partnership with them and their activities that they did up there. Sunshine can talk a little bit about that. We've also introduced STEM in the different career pathways when working with businesses and colleges and universities. So we reached out to them to talk to our students, our training students, and our classroom students in different STEM areas. We've also worked with the state career technical education staff on various different presentations. We've worked with UCERT, which is the Upper Snake River Tribes nonprofit organization out of Boise, to introduce some climate change classes for our students and educate them about climate change in our community and how it impacts us. We've held various different STEM nights on our reservation, utilizing our new TMC mobile trailer. We've also created a makerspace for our students at the new Boys and Girls Club. We just got chartered back in September. And so we are excited to be able to supply our makerspace and get students to be active in that area. We also want to thank the, we've got the Think, Make, Create lab on our reservation, and this definitely helps with programming as it pertains to science. So introducing those kinds of concepts to our younger kids is amazing. So yeah, we had a lot of accomplishments this year. Sunshine, did you want to talk anything about the American Indian Services one?
Yeah, while Jessica was talking, I had a chance to look in the chat, and I just, again, we're already in, but I want to say hi. I know so many of you that are on today, and it's so exciting to see even just your picture. So it might be a little bit repetitive because I know most of you have heard about AIS Prep, and that is my baby. Luckily, in my new position at the Idaho National Lab, Christina answers your question a little bit. I'm able to still work closely with the tribe. I just actually got tasked yesterday with some more jobs that are working directly with the students of the Shoshone-Bannock tribe on the reservation in the high school and throughout the younger grades. So it's really been kind of an easy mesh because we are so early on in bringing STEM to our reservation. But American Indian Services is a pre-freshman engineering program serving 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students at Idaho State University. And the students will be they bus up to the university. They do science field trips on Fridays. They take classes. Each cohort has 3 different classes they take, ranging from logic, engineering, problem solving, computer science, and in between I think they do physics, chemistry. So they have a wide range of classes that the students take. They get a lot of exposure to career speakers every morning, someone in any of the fields that's willing to come in volunteer. We try to look for volunteers that are Native American or from underrepresented communities, just so the students see themselves in those positions and they're able to ask questions that they may not have, be able to ask anywhere else. So AIS Prep is really successful. They have done a great job of recruiting students from the Shoshone-Bannock tribe, and Idaho National Lab is really happy to be a co-host of that program and able to bring in speakers and resources and funding to continue that. And I hope it goes on for years and years, because eventually I hope that those AIS Prep students are the students who are getting internships at INL and around the area and these bigger companies, and so they're able to get these careers and jobs and come back to the reservation and work and be role models for kind of the work that we're doing right now. They really are the ones right in the middle, and they're going to be the product of all the things that all of us create together. So again, I'm just really thankful that you're all here, and a little bit about prep. So go ahead, Crispin.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing the future of this program. And just on its own, this looks like a pretty impressive list of accomplishments. And it's especially impressive that it's happened over the past 2 years, given all the challenges that we're facing. I'm wondering how some of these STEM-focused initiatives and these STEM-focused programs have sort of been received by the larger community over on the reservation compared to some of your other programming over the past 2 years.
Well, I think that, it's exciting for the little guys to learn different things. I know these Ozobots and these pictures. These pictures are, one of them is with the, we had a partnership for our family nights, and I believe INL had brought over some Ozobots. That's the picture in the right with the little girl. she was excited to learn about that. And then University of Idaho came down with their Ozobots, and the picture on the left shows a little bit about our after school programming, and one of our after school students, elementary students, learning about the Ozobots. So they're really excited about that, and being able to learn how to code them. And you know, INL also helped the students do bristle bots. I couldn't find a good picture for that one, but it was pretty cool. I mean, just a few supplies coming together and showing students that, you know, things can happen and they get excited about it. I think they're really happy to learn about STEM and science and how it all connects. I've seen a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah, I agree. And I just wanted to say too, I think we have a slide on this. So Crispin, we're answering all our slides before we even get there. But coming down just to that picture on the right, I remember being there, and it's really cool because we invite, again, a future slide, the whole community, the family to come out to these events. And they at first they're a little scared, but I mean, the grandmas that are bringing these little girls and little boys, like they don't even realize that they're also learning STEM. They're sitting there, and by the end of it, they're gluing together. Like I have a hot glue gun, and they're putting the bot together, and they're the ones actually helping gluing. And they're really hands-on, and I don't even think they realize that they're also learning STEM and helping their students to learn and love STEM too. So I think that even unintentionally, the community is very receptive to what we're doing.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you're bridging that generational gap that you mentioned earlier. So let's catch up to our conversation and get to the next slide about some of your upcoming STEM initiatives.
So our upcoming STEM initiatives, we are planning to have some STEM Saturdays that will be taking place in our new makerspace at the Boys and Girls Club every other Saturday from 10 to 2, and this will be starting in February. We had to revise our safety plan because of the COVID increase of cases, and so we had to go down to 10 gathering of 10. So we had to make some adjustments, but we definitely want to introduce that STEM Saturdays to our students, and those range from ages 10 to 17. And then we are excited that our local Shoshone High School is going through a STEM designation process right now, and maybe Sunshine could talk about that a little bit later. And we also are going to be utilizing our makerspace at the Boys and Girls Club. About 50% of our higher education scholarship students are obtaining degrees and certifications in STEM fields career pathways. So we're really excited to see that number grow as students go into higher education. We also would like to continue our STEM programming that's already happening from the last year, which is the Family STEM Night. So we want to continue that as we proceed. And Sunshine, did you want to talk a little bit about the STEM designation, Shoshone High?
Yeah. So right now there's a lot of restructure going on with the high school. And right now, I think actually some of the teachers are in Boise at the EduCurious training. And I hope to start joining those actually after this one. So I'll have to let John know. And kind of culminating all of our previous slides, one of the biggest pushes for STEM designation at Shoshone Junior Senior High School is to get students back onto the reservation, to come back and be proud of their high school, get the training that they might not get elsewhere, and be able to graduate knowing a trade and going on and being successful with all the support that they need. So in order to get there, there is a lot that we have to do beforehand, including working on curriculum development. And through that process, we're trying to really incorporate the culture. And so that's one of my new tasks as well, is to work closely with the teachers on figuring out day-to-day lessons and how can we incorporate culture. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that kind of will get students more involved, not only students, their families as well, and also teach the teachers. We're all learning all the time. And so it's really nice to find a space where the students can come learn about their culture side by side with STEM and Western education. So right now we're still in the beginning stages. at Shoban Junior Senior High School, but I see it being successful, and a lot of people are receptive, the teachers and the students, to being part of their learning process and being able to kind of build it as we go. So yeah, there's a lot of support, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. Let's see what's on the next slide. Talk about the supportive groups. What are some of the organizations that are supporting the work that you're doing?
We have some amazing partners, and some of the partners are on the call webinar right now. And we probably have more that were not mentioned, and my apologies. But we're just trying to think of everybody that's been supportive. Of course, the Idaho STEM Action Center and our regional hub groups have been supportive in efforts in getting surveys out and to our region, to our students, our teachers, helping out with funding. Of course, our partners are also instrumental when we do our programming and our activities with youth in our community. INL, AIS, ISU, U of I. All of them have been great. We even have, I forgot to mention the Idaho Power that also, and College of Eastern Idaho has also been very supportive in our efforts to do programming and services for our youth in our community. And my apologies if we left anybody out. We also been working with different departments at ISU in getting conservation careers, talking to having presentations from them to our students in high school and elementary. So we're really excited to have our partners, and thank all of them for everything that they do. Natural History Museum has been great at coming out and partnering with us and the different activities that we do. So if it wasn't for our partners, none of this would be possible.
And this is an impressive list of partners. So how have you started some of these relationships and strengthened these relationships over time to do sort of STEM programming?
It's just just reaching out and them coming to us. A lot of times they say, like for instance, the University of Idaho, they came and they said, hey, we're going to have our person come down and you do some activities with your youth. Do you have space and time for them to do that? And I said, yeah, we have our after school program, and the students will be excited to learn more. And so we just try to connect where we can. Idaho State University had a GEM 3 grant that we worked with them in doing some conservation careers, and Grand Teton National Park came out and said, okay, well, we got park rangers and biologists and wildlife firefighters, and just everybody's ideas coming together and reaching out. And we have internal partners as well with our Tribal Fish and Wildlife Department, our Language and Culture Department, and doing activities with youth, and just I guess the hard part is just trying to keep up on everything. That's the hard part, is keeping up on everything, and making sure we keep those relations going. And we thank them for all the hard work that they've done in supporting us.
Yeah. And so obviously it takes all sorts of partnerships to make these sorts of programs successful. But looking at conducting this kind of programming, amping up STEM programming in your community, what are some of the most impactful ways that partners have reached students?
I think the offering presentations and activities for our students, I think that was very impactful. Even the state departments of education and college and career tech, and I think that without everyone's help and support and saying, hey, I can bring this to the table, I could bring that to the table, or we could do this or this project, or there's funding here for this, and just kind of piecemealing it all together for our community, I think is very successful. And sometimes, like I said, it gets overwhelming and there's like lots going on.
Right. But it sounds like in giving these sorts of presentations or doing hands-on activities, a lot of the most impactful ways that your partners have come to the table is sort of showing up in person and communicating directly with the students to raise awareness about STEM pathways.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention is, I mean, those STEM nights, forums, community events that people actually come and are shaking hands and meeting grandmas and kindergartners and everyone in between. Those really are the most impactful. Bringing, you know, some swag or whatever it is that you're able to bring to the table, being able to see that you're actually, you know, not just writing a check and then saying this is what we did, but actually coming out to the community and showing your face and introducing yourself. That has been definitely impactful to show that there is people who are very supportive.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really good bit of information as we're trying to seek ways to engage our own communities and boost STEM profiles in our own communities. I think that's a really good lesson to take moving forward. All right, let's talk community buy-in.
Yeah, I think this one kind of is a lot of the conversation we've had. It's really important to have the community feel like they're a part of this, have a say. So not only are we just going and having the conversation and talking at them, but we're giving them the chance to tell us their ideas, tell us their concerns, tell us their barriers, the things that we can help them with, resources that they need. So having those forums is really important in all forms, because like we talked about transportation and COVID, being able to offer it via Zoom or a phone call or from a flyer or on Facebook, and also in person. And one big thing I would say to get people there is make sure you always have food. I think it doesn't matter what community you come from. If it's around 5, families have to feed their kids. And if you have food, that just takes one less thing off of their plate for the evening, and they're more able to enjoy themselves and willing to come out. So definitely always have even just snacks or something for the kids. Advertisements of events, invitation to all family members. So like I said before, they don't even know that they're coming to be involved in a STEM activity when they bring their kids. By the end, the whole family's involved. I remember the STEM activity that we had at Shoshone School in the evening, which a lot of you were there, and that was a really great event. There was young parents there that were involved with their kids. You could just see them playing and having fun. It's just really awesome to see the dynamic change from I'm dropping my kid off to do this event to this is an entire family event, and not even realizing that they're learning with their students. So being able to keep that invitation open to all family members, regardless of age. And then the community sees the importance around this because they do also see the history of college students dropping out and people not going on to college, and they want to change. They want to see the change. They want to see their students doing well. They're just not really sure how to do it. And so I feel like STEM has really been kind of the leading force in that nature of helping. Okay, where do we start? We definitely start with getting our students trained, because not only are they learning a trade, a hands-on trade, but they're learning how to problem solve. They're learning all these things that they're learning soft skills. They're learning all these things that can be useful in their life all around. And I know that the parents in the community are seeing that. And not only that, is having our students be involved kind of puts pressure on people who are doing these programs to make sure that there's representation for all people, regardless of age, gender, what tribe if they're from a tribe, what color, everything comes into play, where we're making sure that if we're recruiting a lot of Native American students, we need at least one Native American on the panel or in the group, so that they have, or someone who has a similar background or comes from a similar upbringing. And that's really important, because I know multiple times, more than I can actually even count, students have come to me and been like, I could do that. Like, I know who that person is. And so I know I can do that. And so having the representation gathers the confidence for these students to be able to go out, because a lot of times I think when they think of science or STEM, they think of someone in a white coat in a lab, and a student who comes from Fort Hall and lived on D Street and raised their brother and sister. Like, they're not going to think that they could even be in a lab, much less be an engineer or be anything that's bigger than, you know, just going to ISU. So there's so much that they can do. And if they're able to see themselves in those positions, I feel that that really gives them the confidence to even try. And then a huge one is the collaboration among the programs, schools on the reservation. Right now, there's kind of a divide between all of the schools and programming. And I feel like this initiative here, at least on our reservation, is kind of forcing everyone to come together because there are only so many of us. And there are only so many of us that are involved with each of the schools, with each of the programs. So at one point in time, we all have to come together in order for it to work, because we can't have all these fragmented programs going on and feel like that's successful. There needs to be one straight pathway to STEM success, and that involves everyone being a part of it. The two flyers that are here, the first one is the Family STEM Nights for all the districts. So you can see all the districts listed. And of course, we had to be flexible with COVID, so we didn't get to do a ton of them. And each district is a different size as well. And they're so far apart that a lot of times it's hard to get, you know, I mean, some people who live, I'm from the Bannock Creek district, the first one on the list, and we have people all up the valley, no signal. There's no way they would have even known that there was a STEM night unless I went and knocked on the door and gave them a flyer. So I do that, but not for every single event. So those are kind of barriers where, again, we have throughout the reservation. But the first flyer, it was successful. The Family STEM Nights, we did have students coming. It was really great. And the second teal flyer was when we had our Think, Make, Create lab brought to the reservation. It was really exciting because we wanted our community, our families, and students to be involved in actually making and putting together, assembling the TMC lab. And I see some of the TMC team on here. And it's really nice to be able to show that it's being used. Jessica has lots of plans for the TMC lab. I loved having it available and being able to use it and let the students go in there. And yeah, it's really been a great addition to what we're trying to do here in Fort Hall. So we had everyone come out for 2 days, I think it was, building, painting, assembling, had food. It was a really good turnout. And it's nice because some of the kids can say, you know, I helped build that and I helped put that together. And then they get to go in and actually do a project.
Yeah, and there are so many really big takeaways that I'm noting just from this slide. So I hope everybody's taking notes. But one thing that you sort of touched on that I just want to clarify. So what really stands out about programs like this is engaging the whole family, and especially with representation. So you mentioned the student being able to see someone who looks like them, who has a similar background to them in these roles sort of makes it possible. And I'm sure also that when you are engaging full families like this, it also sort of shifts the perspective of parents, of grandparents, of other adults to really understand that these pathways are possible for their students and for themselves.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I remember just at the Shoshone-Bannock High School STEM night where a lot of you had actually come. I think it was Effie, was it CEI, Jessica, that was there? And they had a booth, they were just engaging. They had a table with their with a tablecloth and some information about their programs. And yeah, there's parents there that maybe didn't even think about going to college ever, but there was a booth and it had pamphlets and they were able to ask questions. And so that already started kind of the rolling process of, yeah, having even a resource for an adult who was there with their student, being able to think, you know, maybe I could go to college, or this is a route that I could ask someone, what do I do? What are the next steps?
Wow, that's incredible. All right, now let's talk about overcoming challenges in your community.
This was my slide, but Jessica, I feel like you're pretty good if you want to take over for a second. And I'll have to hear me for another couple minutes.
Well, of course, overcoming the technology issue, you know, as Sunshine had mentioned before, our internet, we don't have the infrastructure right now on a reservation that's connected. So technology is definitely a challenge to a lot of our students. So they have to either go to their schools or find hotspot areas where they can get online. during, was it last year, we did hand out electronic devices, laptops and iPads to our Native American students. But it's just a connectivity issue. So they had to like find Wi-Fi or to hook up to. So, that's always been a challenge, and our council is definitely apprised of that and knows that that is one of the barriers, and we're trying with our planning department to overcome that challenge and get a better infrastructure down and hook up with the iron iron grid people, to help us with getting our infrastructure down between this valley here between Idaho Falls and Pocatello. And it's been challenging. The generational learning gaps of grandparents. We have a lot of grandparents on our reservations raising their grandkids, great grandkids, and trying to get updated on the things that they need to know to help them be encouraging and successful for their students. We've seen that there's those learning gaps in technology, especially with our older population group. So we've been having some classes in trainings for our adult basic education classes to help them learn about technology and how to log in and make an email and check student success reports. And so we've been trying to do that and address those issues on a larger level. We also lack training for staff and volunteers. So we have the staff and volunteers, but we just need to get them trained and get them plugged into all that resources for STEM. Community awareness of STEM. A lot of people don't know what STEM is. And so we try our best to say, we always had STEM in our community and our traditional practices. So just showing them that it's just a terminology that is used today, but we want to make sure that they are aware of that.
That point is really interesting. And even in the work that I do on the larger statewide level, it all seems to come back to this awareness issue broadly. A lot of people still don't know what STEM is or what STEM means or what STEM looks like. So could you talk a little more about sort of how you are framing the definition of STEM in your community and how we might be able to learn from the way that you're doing that?
Well, like I said before, we let people know, of course, it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so culturally, we utilized different technologies and processes for doing different things, such as like tanning hides, for instance, and that chemical reaction from in that process. So, a lot of our people are beadwork artists and or leather makers. And so, that's a form of science that's utilized by our people. And, learning about our water ecology and in our community. And, our people have always, culturally, traditionally, we respect water and we're raised and to pray traditionally for that. And so by learning the science aspect and learning about what's in the water, teaching our kids that, I think are important aspects of that. So we come from a different perspective in learning and teaching STEM, but we also want to utilize technology like those Ozobots and introduce that into our community. And we, like I said before, it's been pretty positive experience for our students, and we're teaching them at early ages in elementary school all the way through high school. And then we get the grandparents and parents coming in and learning as well.
So what I'm taking away from there is that as we're trying to boost awareness in communities, it really comes down to tying it to the values of the community in order to really make the definition sink in.
Right, exactly.
So, cool. And it looks like we have just about 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we get through your information. So we'll go forward to talk about some workforce development aspects.
Yeah, this is some photos of our summer youth employment students, some of them, and just some students in the community. So we're seeing more of a trend of our higher education students and our short-term training students going into STEM careers and pathways like never before. So it's definitely, students are taking nursing and there's people welding, and we have our apprenticeships program with Taro that, you know, we have apprenticeship areas in carpentry and HVAC and electrical and welding, and you know, we need a workforce in all different areas as it pertains to STEM. And so you know, we have our cultural STEM, we have just our regular STEM in general. So in these pictures on the top left is about plant medicine and learning about the benefits of our traditional plants and medicines as Indigenous people. And so, you know, we are teaching our youth about the uses and the proper harvesting skills. So that's the top left picture. We have a member in our community who's a student at ISU doing camas work about our traditional camas plant. And so she's teaching students about that plant in that top left picture. In the top right picture is our students learning about the water ecology and the things that are within the water and plants and plant life. And so they're checking it out. And the bottom left picture is a picture of a traditional beadwork artist. She's teaching the students how to cut hide and how to bead on hide. And they're making a pouch out of that hide work. And then the bottom right is about, we had a virtual youth event where we had a small amount of students come and learn about the aerodynamics and of planes, and it's through our Boys and Girls Club. They had a event. So just different things, different events going on, and you know, trying to expose our students as much as we can. And like I said, it's hard to do it in a pandemic, but in small groups, it's possible.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing here is sort of a counter to a stereotype that I hear in other parts of the state, that STEM is a way out of a rural community, a way to advance in technology, and you know, that's the more stereotypical what we think of as STEM. But it sounds like this is a way to reconnect with your community, to really drive home the cultural impacts, the cultural values of your community that are already STEM related, and broadening the definition that way.
Definitely. And our next slide talks about the economic impacts of STEM and the workforce. So there was an economic impact study done with the tribes of Idaho, and it was found that our tribes have added more than 4,400 jobs and created $400 million annually to the Eastern Idaho economy. And the study also found that the 110,000 acres that we have agricultural lands, we basically estimated that, or they estimated that $125 million were created annually from these crops and revenues. So, which also has a creation of over 900 jobs that were included in the multiplier effects. But when we talk about STEM and the workforce initiatives and the economic impacts, there still needs to be more research completed and done. So that's an area that we'll probably most likely partner with our colleges and universities to help us identify the impacts of STEM and career pathways, specifically here on our reservation.
Awesome. And that's just a snapshot of where things are at right now. So tracking the progress as we expand our STEM offerings and get more people into the pipeline, I think that's going to be really valuable to see. There we go.
And this is just talking about cultural and STEAM to our workforce. We have many talented, skilled workers in our area that work with beads and leather and hides. And so these are just some pictures of our students, you know, in their outfits and their beadwork and learning about beadwork. That's, you know, math and science that's incorporated within our artwork. And so a lot of people don't really realize the that part of it. But you know, beadwork involves math and counting and you know, to be precise. Like the top picture above is beadwork. That's it's very outstanding work and amazing
So
to
like
see.
Interconnected and interdisciplinary. You can
Right.
separate out and divide out the different aspects of the way that you live your lives. It's all just and similar for other communities across the state. Yeah, go ahead, Sunshine.
I was going to say, I think that it's really cool to see this conversation being had of the connection to culture and STEM. A lot of the conversations that I've heard and been able to hear examples are just exciting to be able to share with the students. I mean, when Jessica talks about beading, I've heard people say we should create something that's beading as coding. We talk about all of the different ways that you can use that on so many, even non-native reservations that are even, you know, there's so many things that can be done. When Jessica also talked earlier about brain tanning hides, my dad does hides. And so I'm like, Dad, you didn't even realize that you're doing science, you know? And so when it comes down to it, really bringing these into the community is kind of letting them know and establishing that they have been doing STEM and our ancestors have been doing STEM. And although it didn't have the Western name of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, arts, we have been practicing these for years and years. And so giving them that sort of confidence has really, I think, changed the game for these, at least our students, when it comes to STEM, because they don't realize when they're doing hides. I mean, I have seen my dad multiple times try different, he's used chemicals, he's used different kinds of brains, he's used from different animals, all of these different things to try to soften the hide. And then you have to work it, and you can only use so much water or else it gets hard again, and then you have to work it again. And so there's all these processes that he didn't even realize that, I mean, he's doing science every single day, all day. And then when you look at, I mean, beading, of course, and then you incorporate some of the newer technologies with storytelling, virtual reality. You can use, you know, the Oculus glasses to tell the story and a creation story. Kids can create those. I saw someone tell me an example where they use like a big butcher paper, and they have the students be told the creation story of their tribe, and they're scribing as they're being told the story. And then at the end, each kid has this huge like mural that they've come up with, and they draw a path right through the mural of their creation story, and the Ozobots get to go along the path. And so, you know, there's so many ways to incorporate newer technology, older technology, side by side with the culture. And that just makes it exciting and something that we relate to on all levels.
It sounds like a whole lot of potential for some development of curriculum. So maybe that's a potential way that we can partner. Okay, so let's run through these pretty quick. We just have 2 minutes left, unfortunately.
Well, I just wanted to mention that we did include our vision for STEAM, and I had previously touched on that in another slide, so we can move on to the next one.
Awesome.
Recommendations for success. We definitely love the community involvement and input. love to collaborate. But when we do collaborate, we have to make sure that we are patient with our community members and their learning processes and styles when we present and make presentations to them. Definitely make it relevant. And the example that Sunshine had made in that last thing that she just mentioned, but project, you know, that's relevant. And be consistent, follow through, be respectful for our traditional teachings, and just make STEM fun for learning.
Awesome. Everybody take note.
Nick?
Cool. Well, I'm sure that we could fill another entire hour of this presentation. And I'm sure this conversation will hopefully continue as we strengthen our partnerships, hopefully work on some curriculum and continue to learn from one another. Any final words, Jessica and Sunshine?
I just thank you
wanna
all
say
for
thank you.
coming. And thank you for partnering. And if you want to reach out to us, please do, and we can get you connected.
Yep, ditto. Everything she said. If you need anything, email, call, text, whatever, we're willing to get all of you on board helping out. And so thankful for those of you that have already been helping. Have a good
Thank
day.
all
Have
our
a good
partners.
weekend.
Happy New
Awesome.
Year, everybody.
Yes, Happy New Year. Thank you both for helping us out today and giving us some information to noodle through. And thank you everybody for tuning in to this webinar. We'll post it to the website shortly so that you can share out with folks who may not have been able to attend.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and with that,
Stay tuned for our next webinar in February.
Bye.